I just got back from ITNation Grow in Houston. What a wonderful event. It's early February 2025. I got to speak to 10 great guests at this ITNation Grow as part of Evolve, which are the peer groups, which I was a member of for, oh my goodness, close to 20 years. I was a facilitator for a while in the managed service provider industry. But I was invited to go there. Grow is a particular event in the middle of the Evolve meetings and on the Wednesday, where it talks to MSPs about looking to when they're going to make their exit, if they're going to merge, get acquired, or acquire others. It's quarterly event, but I had 10 great conversations. It started with Cass Lawrence from Blumera. Great conversation with Cass, Brian Hoppy, Kevin Hogsmoser, who I've spoken to before, John Cooper, TJ Terrell, TJ Jackson was a great conversation with TJ, Tom Hermstead, great conversation. I first time I spoke to Tom. Hardin Byers, my goodness, I've known Hardin for 15 years. I haven't seen him. He was back. They're putting the band back together. I had a great conversation with Hardin. Nick Recker, MSP, Blue Alliance. Never spoken to Nick before. Great conversation. Sean Brown, my friend for many, many years. He's got an exciting new consulting firm along with his MSP that keeps growing. And Dr. Larry Little. I had the great pleasure of knowing Larry for 15 years. Haven't seen him for, my goodness, 5-6 years. And we caught up and we caught everything on camera. It was a great conversation. So I want to thank all those guests. I want to thank Arlen Sorensen for inviting me, Matthew Lavender, Scott Scroggin, and all of ConnectWise. Just a wonderful event. One of the breakouts at the Grow event. Had my two very good friends, Brian O'Shaughnessy and Rob Bruce, talking to the group via Teams, via virtual, about their merger, which is a great event. Proud and glad to be part of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually asked them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. How did you learn farming the hard way?
I'm still learning. I'm still doing it. That's how you learn the hard way.
Explain, because you're in Cincinnati.
Yeah, so live in Cincinnati, but we bought some land north of Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, if you've been to Ohio and you're driving through it, there's a lot of farmland.
I see.
But north of Cincinnati, we own some land. My wife got really into farming. She actually helped me grow the MSP. So so we worked together we've been married 23 years. We worked together for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. We don't have time for it. A lot of good things came out of that, but what came out of it is, working.
Sorry about that.
In the MSP world, right? We sit in front of a computer like this every day,
Yes,
and
we do.
it's just so disconnected sometimes from like nature and creation and all that. So when she retired a few years ago, she wanted to get some land, started farming. We got some chickens, greenhouse, grow our own food. It is shockingly simple to grow enough food for a family.
Is it really?
Yes. Like, I had no idea. The hard way part it's just, we didn't know what we're doing. But that's like entrepreneurship, right? You just start doing stuff and you figure it out. So
Do you want to connect with business leaders and engage consumers who take action? The Joey Pinz podcast delivers high-impact conversations to an audience of decision makers, entrepreneurs, and professionals across multiple industries. A fast-growing audience of highly engaged listeners, both B2B and B2C. Millions of listens and views across YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Brands that sponsor us see real engagement, conversations, and brand loyalty. Whether you're looking to sell a service, promote a product, or establish thought leadership, our sponsorships offer premium ad placements, exclusive episode sponsorships, full season branding, and event partnerships. Don't just advertise, become part of the conversation. Visit us at joeypins.com/sponsor to get started, or email us at sales@joeypins.com. Joey Pinz Podcast, where thought leaders, brands connect. Like, what do you grow?
I mean, okra, corn, asparagus. Have you ever seen asparagus grow?
No.
I had no idea.
That's
it's
a
like
good
straight
point.
up. I thought somebody just stuck it in the ground, and she's like, no, that's how it grows. I was like, that's crazy.
And corn, there's only one ear on each stalk.
I know. It takes up a lot of land
It
to grow corn.
does.
So tomatoes, peppers of all kinds. It's super fun. But when I'm not MSPing, it's my favorite thing to do on the weekends is I got a pair of overalls, and I look like
Good for you.
It's super fun.
And you turn off the cell phone? Like, are you off the grid?
Nope, phone's still on.
Really?
Unfortunately. I haven't gotten that far, Jerry, but that's my goal someday. I think it'd be fun to do it. So I'm having a good time with it.
Yeah. And the idea to start this again was?
So this was my wife Heather's idea.
Yeah.
You know, just spending an entire career in a tech business and, you know, running a service business. It was just something different. She grew up in Tennessee and had a lot of experience farming and kind of missed it. And so it's kind of become our new thing as our kids get older.
Man, that's absolutely incredible. I think out of all the things to start, I mean, you're getting close to the land, and it's seasonal. What do you do in the winter? Ohio's got tough winters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't do anything in the winter.
I say, but you got the chickens, though.
Yeah, there's a whole seeding process. So in a barn right now that's heated, we've already planted hundreds and hundreds of seeds in these little containers.
Wow.
And that gets you a head start. So when spring comes, you're not starting from a seed, you're starting from, you know, like a little sproutlet. And so you'll get a bigger crop and get it earlier. So yeah. Wouldn't have known that a year ago.
That's amazing. And auto racing?
So that's more of a hobby, you know. So same thing. I feel like I've spent my entire career in IT being an MSP founder, and I would say there's not a lot of adventure in our jobs day to day. In a traditional sense.
It can get stale.
A little stale. So a friend of mine, it's not any kind of sanctioned racing. It's just sort of recreational. But you can go to these track events on the weekends and bring any kind of car, any reasonable car that you can track. And I've really gotten into that. It's a lot of fun.
And it could be expensive.
It can be, yes. It's definitely talk to your wife before you get into that hobby.
Yeah,
there's a lot of consumable supplies involved. Yeah, for sure.
And what kind of auto?
It just depends. Like, so some of my buddies will race something like Mustangs.
Whoa.
I've got a BMW that I modified for racing. That's a lot of fun. But you can bring all kinds. Like these are more like high performance driving education is what they're called, which is how they get out of not calling it racing. So there's classes, there's instructors that can help you, and then they move you along through different groups. But highly recommended if there's any IT folks out there that maybe like sports cars and are looking for something that's a little more exciting than closing tickets all day.
And of course, there's two, as far as I know, just two huge camps, like the closed wheel and the open wheel, right? NASCAR versus Formula.
Yeah, so that's true. That's definitely true in like actual professional racing. We're so far down from that. Like that's like NBA versus neighborhood league.
I see.
No, but you're right. Yeah, in the real racing, that's true.
Do you follow any of those?
Yeah, I think they're fun to watch. Yeah,
NASCAR and Formula.
I'm more Formula One. I think like a lot of people, I got sucked into that Drive to Survive after COVID.
I watched that too.
That's been pretty fun. I think I've done a nice job of like bringing out the personalities of the racers. So yeah, I watch that stuff.
Yeah, and there's only 20, right? Is that it?
There's
amazing.
not that many. I don't know the exact number. But
and then like if one leaves, one can come on, but it's
like
only
a fixed number.
Yeah, it's a fixed number.
I think it's a money game. You gotta have a lot of money to be in that game.
They'll open it up. Yeah, because there's Las Vegas has one, right? And
there's one in Austin, I think.
Austin has one too. Yeah. So we're here in Houston, Texas. We're here to ConnectWise, evolve, and grow. First week of February here, 2025. What are some of your goals here, Nick?
So I started an MSP in 2002. I started 3 other businesses, all related to my MSP. So one was a medical call center, one was
Whoa.
a software company, and my MSP was focused just on healthcare. In 2021, I started my own platform, MSP platform. Me, another guy named Sean, another MSP founder, we got together and thought we could build a platform, and so far so good. So we've got 5 operating businesses. We've got about 350 employees.
Wow.
And we just last year partnered with a fantastic company, Prairie Capital. So we have a backer now that's really helping us execute the vision. And so we're here just learning from the folks that grow. It's great. Like, we're not on some, we don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of really smart people in our industry, and I think we're really blessed that there's been some pioneers that have done this. Now, everybody thinks they have their secret sauce, and we do too. We think we've got the right balance of integration versus keeping a brand identity, which was important to us as founders. But yeah, just come in to learn and collaborate.
And so that's Blue Alliance.
Yeah, Blue Alliance.
And so are you looking to acquire more MSPs?
We are. Yeah. We still are acquiring. Our model's different. What we're looking for is we have a lot of focus on end markets. So, for example, one of our MSPs is 100% healthcare. So organizations, for example, that have a high degree of healthcare customers would be a great fit. And not only would we be a good fit for them, their customers would experience hopefully an improved or enhanced experience through that partnership. But we're different as an acquirer. We can look at all size ranges of businesses. We don't have a silver bullet. We're looking for great organizations that want to sustain their culture. I think of when I think of what we do, Joey, I think of a triangle. And on each point, you've got the customer, the company, and the employees of the business. And if we can make decisions that hit the center of that, where all the stakeholders are balanced, that's what we love to do. So if we can find partners where we can do that, then that's likely going to be a good fit for us and them.
Talking to somebody earlier, they said the advice that they give MSPs, there's 3. 1 is to join a peer group. 2 is to get some kind of business operating system. And 3 is to get a coach. Thoughts?
Interesting. So I started mine in 2002. To give you some sort of scale, like around 2012, we were probably 10 million-ish at that point. My wife, as I mentioned, was in the business. All she wanted to do was join a peer group.
Wow.
And I resisted. So dumb.
Whoa.
So dumb. I totally agree with you. Join a peer group. There was a lot of arrogance in younger Nick, and I thought I could do this. And I shudder to think how many mistakes I made in a vacuum or things I could have learned from my peers. So totally agree. We're Evolve members now and really, really enjoy it. So wish I'd have done that sooner. The coaching thing I think is important. I do think, though, it's important to pick a coach for where you are as a leader. Like, I don't think all coaches are created equal. When I think about me as a leader today versus me in 22, what I need today is very different than what I needed then. So I do think it is something you should pay close attention to where you're trying to grow as a leader. But I love coaching. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And a business operating system.
So EOS is what we use.
Yes.
We had operated for many, many years without it. And what EOS did was give us really clear vocabulary and a better set of definitions. So as somebody who started with no money and no customers, I think you can run a business just fine without one, but it certainly brings consensus faster because you've got that shared vocabulary.
Yeah, you sure do. So I started my MSP in the 90s. I exited in 2019, but I work with a lot of MSPs now. 3 things keep them up at night, Nick. 1, cybersecurity, right? They're worried about their clients getting attacked. 2 is what I call human capital. How are they going to replace the great tech if they leave? How are they going to get new? And then 3rd is just growth. Generally, they're tech-led. They don't know how to make a good organic sales engine.
Yep.
What about those 3 things? They ring true?
Yeah, I think so. But, those are, not to minimize them, but, you've been there, right?
Yeah.
Those were the things I worried about from the very first day I realized the risks involved. I think for cyber, same thing. We have so many resources today, and I think our customers now understand what's at stake. And so I think we're just in a unique time where MSPs, they know it's their responsibility to clearly communicate to the customer what they need based on their size, scale, and market. And the customers know they need to listen. So I feel like that doesn't keep me up as much at night because I understand where the puck is there.
Right.
We've just got to do an excellent job telling customers what they need. And then ultimately the customer has to take responsibility for their part of it. It's still a stressor, but I feel like we're more equipped than ever on that one. I felt a lot more nervous about that, in the 2014, 15 era. The human capital side of things, we have learned to attract talent by communicating the successes of people who have been with us and have been able to move on to better jobs. Like, that's the best turnover, when you have an engineer that moves on to something that's beyond even what you can do.
Right.
So we've not had a ton of stress around the human capital part of things. What was your third one?
Growth.
The growth one. Well, that one's still legit, right? I think organic growth is so valuable, but despite every effort we make, it's still referrals that drives most of our growth.
Really?
Yes. I mean, we recently just invested in a new sales team. We've got a fantastic head of sales that just joined us, and we have great plans, and I'm excited about them. But if you look at my entire career, I've got a lot of times that we tried to do it, and it's always referral. So I think it's table stakes. I think you have to be active in the market, telling people you're there and talking about what you're good at and what you're valuable for. But I wouldn't underestimate those relationships. You just have to keep nurturing the customers, because the referrals are always going to be an outsized chunk of your growth.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah, and nothing. I mean, when somebody says, "Who are you using for this?" and they get recommended, it's hard to mess that up.
It's the best kind of lead.
Yeah.
Again, not
Low
to say
cost.
you don't need the professional development. It's just I think it's always going to be a struggle.
Your brand deserves to be in front of the right audience decision makers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ready to take action. That's exactly who listens to the Joey Pinz podcast. Thousands of engaged business leaders and consumers tune in every week. Millions of views and listens across YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Sponsors see real impact, higher engagement, brand trust, and conversations. We offer strategic partnerships tailored to your goals, including targeted ad placements, branded guest appearances, multi-episode and event sponsorships. Make your brand part of the conversation. Let's grow together. Visit joeypinz.com/sponsor to explore sponsorship opportunities, or email us at sales@joeypinz.com. The Joey Pinz podcast, where brands and thought leaders connect. So what keeps you up as an MSP owner?
I think a little bit differently about AI. Like, I think AI, it's such an umbrella term, nowadays.
Sure is.
But I feel like we're just on the cusp of a sea change as humanity. I mean, not even MSPs. And everything we do is going to be so different. What keeps me up is just trying to imagine, what's next. I think MSPs in general, I'm curious if you agree with this, we're really supporting things that were invented 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, we have a very critical role to play. But if you think about what we wake up and take tickets for and install, like, these are technologies that were invented a long time ago.
Wow.
What keeps me up is, as MSPs, will we get access to what's next, or will it kind of move around our industry? So I think that's what our industry has to be paying attention to, is how do we plug in to not just productize AI, right? Like, there's some really great products out there, but how do we plug into truly what are those sea changes that are going to happen as everything adopts AI?
Wow. That's because, it's just a recent scare, right? We had an issue with that DeepSeek. Yeah. Where I don't know if they're going to really report what they spent on it, but it seems that they didn't spend a lot of money on it, and it hit our stock market. It affected prices, and can something like that happen again?
Well, and Joey, we'll never know.
Yeah,
right?
we won't.
Like, we won't know what's real and what's not about that. But what I can tell you is that's a great example of what worries me. That tech was never going to come through the channel.
Interesting.
That tech was never going to be something one of our customers needed us to be involved in.
Wow.
And so when we think about sort of our relevance as those technology stewards for our customers, AI introduces some interesting, potentially good, potentially bad things.
Sure does.
I'm not trying to foreshadow doom. It's just, if there was ever a time we all need to be paying attention, it's now.
Nick, is there anything in the last month or so that you changed your mind on?
Changed my mind. Last month? Like last hour? How much time you have, Joey? So last month, just to give you a quick example. So in our platform inside Blue Alliance, we think a hybrid integration model is best. So, if you think of the poles, right, you've got totally disintegrated MSPs versus totally integrated. We tried to hit middle of the fairway at our outset. So we centralized human resources, accounting, finance, sales and marketing, things that don't touch the customers or the techs, but that you can legitimately build some value and some economies of scale. We've decided that we're going to move that a little bit further down the field, right? So if we're a 100-yard football field and we were, if we were at half, we're going to probably move another 25 yards towards integration, because what we're realizing is our techs and our different businesses, they want to get promoted to opportunities that pop up within another brand.
Wow.
And if our tech stacks aren't the same, if our PSAs aren't configured the same way, we're going to limit our ability to harness the true power of our team. That was something, if you'd asked me this question in December, I'd have told you we hit the sweet spot. But I think being a good leader is being very comfortable being wrong, and I am.
And how did you come to this?
Feedback from the Evolve.
Wow.
We were in the Q4 Evolve, had a great board meeting with our team, talked through it, talked to our team internally. When we started to realize maybe we were not thinking of it the right way, we went to our own people. And we said to them, hey, look, here's what we think, but what do you guys think? Like, you're living in this place. We founded it in 2021. We're up and running. We've reached a level of, kind of steady state. And what we heard from them was like, we want to work closer together. And they really enjoy that collaboration. But even subtle differences in operating, just board structure in your PSA, like that can inhibit intercompany collaboration.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Simple things like that.
It can.
When should an MSP consider making an exit?
I think that's a very owner-specific question. Look, there's nothing wrong with owning an MSP, and I think one of the things I've always tried to do, Joey, and maybe this is something you can resonate with, I think sometimes we do a really bad job as MSP founders managing the roles of CEO and shareholder. Like, when you're a founder operator, you're both. And that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
A CEO is an employee whose job it is to run the organization well so it produces as much money as possible in a quality way. The shareholder owns an asset, and they should expect that asset to appreciate in value.
Right.
Well, when you're both and you have a flat year, think of how we grade ourselves on a curve.
Yeah.
Like when we blow a new customer proposal, we grade ourselves on a curve. So for me, when I realized that I was really serving two roles, that's when I started thinking about my business differently. Because as a shareholder, you probably own stock. You're probably dispassionate. If it's time to sell it. So I would just encourage my fellow MSP founders, just try to separate those two roles and wear your shareholder hat and think, hey, this is an asset that I've built. What's the right time for me personally, for my family, for my personal financial goals? I think that helps. When you try to wear both hats and think like the CEO, it can muddy the decision.
And how did you come to that?
That was a mentor who helped me think through that. I had a business coach, and at that particular time, this was a seasoned family business operator, different industry, but second generation operator. And he was listening to me talk, and he just said, here's the problem. You're two jobs. You're mixing these two jobs, and you're doing both poorly. As a shareholder, you should be offended the company didn't grow more last year. And as a CEO, you should be building a plan that's much more aggressive to hold people accountable. When you mix the two, it wasn't healthy.
There's natural conflict there. That's a very interesting perspective. I wonder how many MSPs can reflect on that.
Yeah. Hey, any small business owner.
Yeah, any small.
Anytime
good point.
you own, operate.
Yeah. So, Nick, I started my MSP in the 90s. I was working way too hard, 14, 16-hour days. You're no stranger to that, I'm sure. And next thing you know, I'm in front of the doctor. And I'm at 340 pounds.
Oh.
And she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. Scared the hell out of me. I'm driving home, punching the steering wheel. So next 6-7 months, lost 130 pounds.
Good for you.
Kept it off. And people say, they want it like it's some secret. What's your secret? And there's no secret. Discipline. That's how I kept it off. Just motivation, routine, etc. How does discipline play a role in your life?
Well, so as somebody whose metabolism is like tortoise speed, and my job is to sit in front of a computer, that's something I've wrestled with. And my kids joke that I'm on this constant health journey, like it never ends. So for me, discipline started a long time ago. I get up very early every day, so I start my day at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
I've got a personal routine where I just do some prayer and reflection stuff. I've been very blessed that I have a trainer who I know who's a friend of mine. He comes to my house pretty much every weekday.
Whoa.
We'll go through like a CrossFit kind of style workout, which is, it's great. It's just kept me at stasis.
Awesome.
It'd be great to continue
maintain.
Yeah, exactly. At least I can maintain. But discipline comes with time and repetition, right? And I've never, if you're a guy I think who espouses the benefits of discipline. that road is painful. Like I've never heard somebody who's really disciplined say it was fun and easy to get there. So even just starting with that, like, hey, I've got to seize my day. I can't start my day behind the 8-ball. That was a big step. And then inside the business, like I was, again, using that sort of analogy, like I was giving myself a lot of credit for not meeting deadlines I set.
Wow.
For not setting the standard for timeliness. Like I say to our team, like your say to do ratio should be 1-to-1. Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. Like, and so having that kind of discipline where it's like, hey, we committed to doing this, we're going to do it. So I think it is, I will say there's a flywheel effect, you know, when you seize ground in your life through the hard work, the sweat and the tears, and you pick up a discipline, you kind of start to want more of it.
Wow.
So, you know, for me, that was that journey. And then I, you know, as a person of faith, I'll constantly sort of look at my resources, time, and sort of how am I aligning that with my beliefs. And for me, that's a great way to sort of check what areas of my life might need more discipline to align me with, you know, the person I'm capable of being.
Had discipline been a part of your youth? Or your parents instill?
No,
At all?
at all. Like,
really?
no, with no offense to my parents,
Sure.
like all is forgiven. I came from sort of a product of multiple divorces, no supervision. I was a terrible student, almost had to bribe my high school chemistry teacher to graduate.
Whoa.
And didn't do well in college, dropped out to start a business. Like discipline for me, you know, I think God was very patient with me. And as I started to have success, like it was something you start to realize that you need, you know, you need to sustain the things that are important to you. So no, I did not come from a disciplined background.
So you moved into it by necessity.
Yeah. Survival. I mean, I think so. Another way to say necessity, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I think when you start to accomplish something and care for it, you realize that trying to do it in a scattershot or disorganized way, it's not just painful for you, it's painful for your family, for your employees. And I think we all know this intuitively by foregoing discipline. You know, this is a great phrase I've heard is like sometimes the shortcut is taking the long way. And I would say that's kind of what discipline is.
Right.
Like there is no shortcut.
Right.
Like just do it the right way. And I think that's ultimately the realization that I came to.
What motivates you, Nick?
I think we all have unique abilities to create value. And if we can find something that we're passionate about, like that intersection of kind of passion and purpose, then it should be self-propelling. So for me, what motivates me is I really enjoy leading our team. I think being in a service business, you know, it's such a cool opportunity to impact the customers we serve and change their lives, the outcome of what they're trying to work on. And then, you know, my family, I think we all are working hard for something. You know, I think doing it and being able to provide for your family is a big motivator.
Impact and legacy.
Yeah.
So given those motivations, how do you measure success?
It's a good question. I'm very much a progress over perfection sort of person. So I think success to me is if you're moving those pucks forward in your life, right? So if you have a healthy faith life, and that's able to continue to grow, and you've got a great relationship with your spouse, and that's able to continue to grow, and your children are flourishing, and your team is flourishing. Like in my mind, maybe the best sort of parable analogy is just sort of that idea of fruit. Like if your life is producing fruit in those areas, that's progress. I'm deliberately not using words like money or success.
Right,
I mean, like none of
right.
that really matters.
Right.
It's just, are you living a fruitful life where all the areas you've got responsibilities are producing fruit? If you are, I'd say that's success. And I think it's important to think that way because as entrepreneurs, sometimes we get size envy. You know, I used to be a small business. Right now I'm a big business. And when I was a small business, I used to think I wasn't good enough. I wish I could go back and talk to that version of me and be like, no, you are great. You are great. And you're producing fruit, and you don't need to worry about being a certain size to be a productive person. So I guess that would be my 2 cents, Joey, is I think we need to measure it more on the fruit we're producing and not the metrics. Although data is great, as Evolve tells us. But
Sure.
it's not the be all end all.
Looking for a powerful way to reach business leaders and engage consumers? The Joey Pinz podcast connects brands like yours with an audience that listens, engages, and takes action. High impact exposure with a fast growing loyal audience. Millions of views and listens across major platforms. Sponsors see increased brand awareness, trust, and conversations. We make sponsorship simple and effective with custom ad placements that fit your brand, deep audience engagement through authentic conversations, long-term exposure across podcast platforms and social media. Don't miss the opportunity to connect with your ideal customers. Visit joeypinz.com/sponsor to secure your sponsorship today. Or you can email us at sales@joeypinz.com. The Joey Pinz Podcast, where conversations drive results. Are you a hockey player?
No, but I've said puck a lot.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I must have heard it. I'm not over-indexing on that. No.
Yeah.
No, me and narrow metal blades do not.
Is that right?
Yeah, not gonna
Cincinnati has a team, don't they?
We have what's below NHL, and then maybe below that. We have the Cincinnati Cyclones, I think.
Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus has they're Yellow Jackets. They got
Yellow
a decent
Jackets.
team.
Yeah, that's right. And faith plays a big role in your life too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always?
I think as a little kid, I have memories of praying in bed as a seven-year-old, but I don't know what I was praying. For me, that journey has really been one of sort of discovery where I think we all know there's a greater something out there. And I had a lot of really great people in my life that helped me start to put words around that. So as a Christian, sort of understanding that story and how I fit into it as an adopted son and what that looks like. And it has played a big part for me. I think as an entrepreneur, sometimes we think about faith and our roles as leaders as incompatible. And I think that's the lie. Like they're actually critically important that they work together. But it has been important, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you booking this. I really like talking to you. Yeah. Anybody listening or watching, how can they get in touch with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, probably the easiest way, just Nick Recker. I can also, my email is easy. It's just nick.recker@bluealliance.com.
And RECKER.
That's correct.
Nick, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.